It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
That's caught! Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score! He would not be denied!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Sponsored by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Kyle Ireland. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 2 is off and running here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack coming to you live here at Broadcast House in Salt Lake City. KSL News Time, 1:06 p.m. It's crossover season. Football and basketball intersect, and it's an exciting time because both football and men's basketball for BYU sports, top 10 in the AP Top 25 polls. The only athletic department that can boast top 10 teams in both football and men's basketball right now. These are good times, Cougar Nation. You're living large. To me, this is a golden era of BYU sports. And then you add on top of all this with the men's basketball team, the most anticipated season in program history. And there's so much excitement, there's so much buzz to the point where now it's time to actually go play the games. And Monday night, BYU tips off the season, the most anticipated season in program history, against the Villanova Wildcats. Tip-off between the Cougars and Wildcats is at 7:30 p.m. First meeting between BYU and Villanova coming up on Monday night since 1984. Cannot wait to see that one. And all the action can be heard right here on KSL News Radio. And throughout the season, you're going to see a lot of BYU on ESPN, and a guy that I believe is the voice of Big 12 basketball. He was in Kansas City at Big 12 Basketball Media Days, holding it down on the ESPN set, talking to these Big 12 teams, including BYU. He is Fran Fraschilla, and he joins us live here on Cougar Sports Saturday with Mitch Harper and Nate Slack. And Fran, hopefully you're having a great weekend. Cannot believe it's basketball season has arrived.
I can't wait, Mitch. It's excited about it, and doing a lot of preparation for the season. I will be watching the game on Monday night. And for Coug fans, I will be in Orlando celebrating Thanksgiving with BYU and probably a sizable number of the fan base.
Oh, that's fantastic. I will be down there as well. That's going to be a lot of fun. So do you already know your schedule for the year as far as BYU games you're going to call, or is that kind of still to be determined down the road in the heart of the Big 12 schedule?
TBA. We do it month by month. I've got a great early season schedule. I'll see Houston at Auburn. I'll see Arizona at Alabama, Kansas and UConn, BYU down in Orlando. So I've got the first month and a half so far, and I expect to be in Pro Bowl or at least see BYU 4 or 5 times during the regular season. A Big 12 play, that is. It's
going to be a really fun season, and it's not going to be easy. In the Big 12, you know this better than anyone. It is a gauntlet, but how do you feel the roster that Kevin Young has put together in year 2 stacks up in a Big 12 that might be as good as it's ever been?
Well, I know they got 2 NBA players, so we can start there. But seriously, I think the coaching staff's done a terrific job. Obviously, Richie Saunders coming back is a huge boost. Richie, I think, would have been an NBA player this year. And now I think he has a chance to really help his stock. You add Kata back, who's as physical a player, kind of like the Flory Badunga of BYU, a kid that can have an effect on the game inside. And then, of course, AJ, who I have seen quite a bit and love his game and love the fact that it's not just about, like my analogy with, AJ Devanza is if Kevin Garnett came back as a small forward, it would be AJ Devanza. The intensity, the defense, the will to win is there. And, honestly, not to make me long-winded, Mitch, but if AJ has to get 30 for you to win, he'll get 30. If you're up by 30, he's going to get 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. So I'm looking forward to him. And, of course, Rob Wright coming over from Baylor is a good start.
Yeah, the roster's loaded. BYU fans are really excited about it. There's obviously some high expectations for BYU. Do you think a Final Four is attainable, or is that something that's maybe not quite realistic yet? Or what do you see the ceiling being for BYU basketball this season?
Well, I'm not a gambler, Nate. I wouldn't go to Vegas and put odds on it. But they got to the Sweet 16 last year, and then this team is probably better. Although that team had great chemistry by the end of the year, as you guys know well. So I think this chemistry lab is going to take, much like last year, where Coach Young and the staff and the players had to figure it out probably over the first month, November, December, and I'd even say January before things clicked. So I think the same thing is true this year. Can they get to a Final Four? Yes, they can. Are the odds of them getting there? Probably not, only in the sense that there's probably 10 teams like BYU that are all in the same boat. And I would say the same thing about every one of them, actually. So, but I would definitely be optimistic. Listen, this is a team that can go far in the tournament. And obviously, as you guys know, luck, injuries, things like that, team chemistry, all will play a part. But I do think if you're a BYU fan, you have to be ecstatic about the way things are shaping up as you come into this season.
How many teams from the Big 12 are on that boat, Fran? Do you think how many in the Big 12 could be Final Four potential good?
Well, I think there's definitely 6 as we start the year that are in the top 25, but I would say teams that I think are in the top 10, let's start there. Big 12 teams in the top 10 right now would be Houston, Arizona, BYU, and Texas Tech, I think, is right there with them. So those 4 teams, I think, are all Final Four capable. And again, Tech was just a couple free throws away from getting to a Final Four last year. Houston got there. BYU, got deep in the tournament. So I think those 4 – and by the way, I think Arizona is a sleeper nationally. I think they're a top 10 team or top – I don't know where they're ranked right now, but I think they're better than the national pundits think because they've got a great point guard, a terrific group of freshmen, and then some size up front that's returning.
You kind of touched on it earlier about the just the connection and the camaraderie between BYU. Is that your biggest concern you would have for BYU going into this season, is just being able to be on the same page?
Well, I think, Nate, it's not because of anything, off the court. You know what I mean? Like, well, if these guys are going to like each other, how are they going to play together? I just think college basketball right now, the new normal is every coach really is a junior college coach. You know what I mean? Like, every coach is recruiting guys for 1 year, maybe 2. Kevin Young's got great experience at this because he coached in the G League, where you really have a new team every single season, and you're also losing guys and adding guys throughout the year. So I think Kevin is really the kind of guy and with the kind of experience that can put this all together. But when we say chemistry, this is common across college basketball, and I don't have any indication to think that they won't come together and play as a great team. But that takes time. It starts in June and July. Now we're in October, November. And then as we talked about, that the chemistry, I think, of BYU last year really didn't kick in until like midway through the Big 12.
Talk with Fran Fraschilla here on KSL News Radio, the man that I call the voice of the Big 12. You can hear him on ESPN. He does a fantastic job covering college basketball. The best voice, I think, too, on NBA draft, international prospects, and draft prospects in general. A lot of respect for you, Fran, the way you cover this sport. And I'm curious, too, since you know the game as well as anyone, why do you think Kevin Young has worked so well coming from the NBA to college basketball? Because it's not always a smooth transition for guys that are NBA lifers to then come to college and work. But Kevin Young has. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think Mitch, there's a number of reasons. Number one, he's coming in at the right time. He's coming in at an age where the NBA and college basketball, especially at the power conference level, have never been more similar, right? Salaries and things of that nature. NIL is kind of like a salary. I wish we had a salary cap, but we'll probably get to that in the next few years. I think the other thing is NBA coaches, think about it. First of all, Kevin's been a head coach at the G League level, which is great basketball. It's a great learning lab, let's just say. I've got a son now in the NBA, assistant coach, who spent 6 years in the G League, and he tells me all about that. I think the other thing is he's got a great way with players because he's coached the best players in the world. And when you are a part of an NBA season, especially a team that goes to the playoffs, as my great friend Gordy Chiesa has always explained to me, there's 100 games in a season, including the playoffs. There's 200 possessions in a game. You think of all of the basketball coaching that goes involved in that kind of experience, and throw in Kevin's decade-plus of NBA experience, and I think it was a natural fit. And he has BYU ties, and he's familiar with the state. He's familiar with the university. I think it was just a great fit, and I'm not at all surprised that it's gone very, very well so far.
Back to the Big 12 Conference really fast, Fran. They were really public last year about the Big 12 being the best basketball conference in America, and the SEC kind of took that crown last year.
Yep.
With there being, in your opinion, 4 Big 12 teams that could be top 10 good this year, do you think this is the year that the Big 12 can kind of regain that title as being the best conference in America?
Well, it's possible, Nate, but let me give you some historical perspective, and this is easily explainable. The SEC last year, great league, man, 14 teams. It was the perfect storm in their history. Yeah. They've added some really good coaches, but also they had so many fifth-year COVID guys that ended up being All-Americans. You know, Walter Clayton Jr., Janai Broom at Auburn, Mark Sears at Alabama. The Big 12, according to Ken Palm, was the best league in the country in 9 of the previous 11 years. So why did it dip? Very easy. It was not a vintage year at Kansas. You guys have not yet seen the Kansas that we saw for 20 years, and maybe it comes back this year with Darren Peterson. I'm not so sure yet. The voters, the writers think they're the 5th or best team in the league. I think that's about right. And Baylor's been off primarily because they've lost so many players to the NBA. It's almost been, like an embarrassment of riches, and it's hurt them. I think Baylor's a year away from being back to being like a top 15 program. Kansas has had a great recruiting year for next year. I think they'll be great this year, or at least very good because of Peterson. But you haven't seen the real Big 12 yet. And thank goodness that Houston, BYU, and Arizona have kind of, are keeping the status of the league at a high level, because when KU, and I throw Iowa State and Texas Tech in there as well, but when KU and Baylor come back on the scene, you will see, I think, what the SEC saw last year and what I've seen for really the better part of 2 decades.
He's Fran Fraschilla. You can check him out on ESPN throughout the college basketball season. We'll see you in Orlando around Thanksgiving, Fran, and appreciate the time on this Saturday afternoon. Thanks again.
Happy to do it, Mitch. We'll see you guys, and we'll see all those great Coug fans in a couple weeks.
That's Fran Fraschilla here on KSL News Radio. Great breakdown of the Big 12 and BYU hoops from Fran Fraschilla. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll get to more BYU basketball talk and check in on some scores around Big 12 football today here on Cougar Sports Saturday, and it's powered by KSL Sports.